And it was in this setting that I formulated an idea. What if I could make a long-form, irresistible piece of content that I knew that these streamers couldn't resist? They couldn't avoid the temptation of watching it the second it was published.
I don't have an issue with them.
It's not that I wanted these people to steal my video. It's that I knew they would. I knew they would watch the entire video, add little to no commentary, react to it instantly, giving them no time to form an opinion. The trap was set, and it worked even better than I imagined it would. We captured pretty much every large streamer reacting to it in its entirety immediately after it was published. Now, the thing is, there were a few people that went above and beyond to commit copyright infringement. For example, Denim sits here silently with nearly 50,000 live viewers. That's 30 times her regular viewership.
Ethan Klein has done it again. He has proven beyond any shadow of a doubt that Cenk's nephew and his orbiters are absolutely the stupidest people on planet Earth, and the way that he did it is by filing a lawsuit against 3 specific creators who thought it would be a good idea to announce to the world that they were restreaming his content, Nuke, his own intellectual property, on their Twitch channels for the sole purpose of violating his copyright. Yes, they were that explicit about it, and not only was Ethan smart in filing the suit against these creators, but he was also incredibly intelligent in that he actually registered this specific work as a copyright trademark with the US Library of Congress in order to establish that he does in fact have a case.
There's one thing about copyright you should know is that you got to register it before you publish to be eligible for statutory damages and attorney's fees, which is the main biting force of a copyright infringement lawsuit. Well, I'm happy to tell you guys now, I, Ethan Klein, have registered Hassan Piker Content Nuke with the United States Library of Congress. Some of you guys out there sweating?
And that's what we're going to talk about today. Ethan just outwitting these absolute deuce, the panic among the left wing, all their denials and deflections of how he got them. But before we do, I want to thank everybody who supports this channel via actualjusticewarrior.com/join.
Give me money, give me money, give me money.
Let me tell you guys a story. About 1.5 years ago, it's a big conversation called ReactGate. ReactGate was a debate going on in the streaming community about what constituted fair use. People like Hassan, XQC, and many of the large Twitch streamers would watch other creators' entire video on their stream. They would rarely add sufficient commentary or even pause the video to speak. Most egregiously, they would re-upload the entire VOD to YouTube with the same thumbnail, the same title, so that they could cannibalize traffic from the original video. Here's what Lamino had to say about this phenomenon.
I don't mind people reacting to my videos, but I do mind when they play the entirety of my video. A face cam in the corner or the occasional interruption does nothing to address that issue. My video is still being played from beginning to end in someone else's stream or video. It's neither ethical nor necessary to feature the entirety of someone else's work. Or, they could do the bare minimum and ask for permission. Something that none of the major reaction channels have ever done when they've streamed or re-uploaded my videos. But to answer your question, no, I don't want people to stream or re-upload the entirety of my videos.
Now, I need you guys to understand a little bit of basis of fair use law, and one of the funniest things about this particular story is that it is Ethan Klein and Ela Klein who set a pretty solid precedent in the Matt Haas case that establishes the parameters of fair use. So essentially what fair use is your ability to use clips or certain segments of other people's work in order to actually add to your own work, as long as it is transformative in nature, not a market substitute for the original, and it's not meant to deprive the original author of money that is due to them. So those are the parameters, those are the standards, and this is how my channel functions, where I'm responding to different clips and whatnot in order to give you something that is wholly new and transformative. Now, if I were just sitting in the corner of the screen, barely giving you guys any commentary or anything that changes the original work, that would obviously be me pirating that work, redistributing it, and violating the copyright of the original owner. But Twitchers don't seem to think that the rules apply to them. So time and time again, we've seen absurd things like Pokimane watching Avatar: The Last Airbender, Cenk's nephew watching MasterChef, and this is pitched as a watch party, but in reality, this is nothing more than plain, blatant copyright infringement that eventually is going to come to a head in a major lawsuit that's going to end up restricting the rights of creators like myself due to an overly broad ruling in response to the abuses that are very common among streamers and Twitchers. And Ethan has been on this and against this for years. In fact, he called out Cenk's nephew for this when they shared a podcast called Leftovers, and he debated other creators on this issue. And by the way, he included clips of examples of his position on this in his own video so you could see what he means.
Even though theoretically I could sue a lot more creators and rake in millions of dollars, but the purpose of this is not financial gain. People like XQC and Asmongold may have watched the entire thing, but I would never sue them just for doing that. I don't want to chill the reaction community into fear. Actually, the opposite. I hope that we can all unite against this type of egregious behavior that not only makes us all look bad, but could destroy the commentary community as we know it.
Well, guys, if you enjoyed not giving any views to that terrible video, follow, subscribe, throw a prime.
The state of reaction content on Twitch is so broken, these creators feel comfortable looking right into a camera and saying outright, hey, I'm stealing this guy's content. Pay me instead of him. This is not a healthy environment, and with people like Hassan reacting to entire TV shows on stream, my fear is that Sony or Disney comes along, sues everybody, and sets a devastating precedent that could endanger our entire field.
Now, of course, there's different varieties of this kind of content abuse, of this nonsense that is clearly and obviously not fair use, and one of the most funny ones is Cenk's nephew, who's the largest left-wing political streamer on Twitch. He has been overtaken and demolished by Asmongold, who essentially abandons his stream, we call this the chair react, and lets the video play while he's gone, while he's eating chicken, while he's in the bathroom, while he's talking to his mother, or some other such thing. And this is obviously not what transformative content is supposed to be about.
Ironically, after this debate and in the wake of this large conversation, the problem seems to have only gotten worse. You have people like Hassan Piker paving the way of fair use with what's known as chair reacts, when Hassan gets up to go to the bathroom, or to eat, or to talk to his mom, or to do whatever, disappears for an extended period of time and leaves the video playing for his chair. Mr. Chair, they call it.
IDF had warned people to leave the area around the main airport in Sana'a. Then this.
Do not This operation will result in the killing of hostages in captivity. Will result in the death of the third.
Well, I've been thinking.
This is you playing a video of somebody else's work in its entirety, which, by the way, people don't go and check out after the fact, depriving that person of income, while at the same time you are building yourself up, your own income up, and of course you are profiting off of this. And I'm not saying that there are no instances where you could play a work in its entirety, especially when we're talking about commentary and whatnot, but the fact is you end up having to add at least something that makes it transformative. Otherwise, you're just stealing from this person's content. And what Ethan highlights is 3 creators in particular who added nothing in terms of commentary. In fact, they're on a list on a Reddit of people who want to watch Ethan's video in its entirety, but don't actually want to give him the views and thus the money associated with that. And in addition to that, each and every one of them said throughout the course of their stream that they were doing this as a way to deprive Ethan of what he is owed. And again, they did this the day that his video was released.
It's one thing for a subreddit to admit it's engaging in copyright infringement, but how do you get the streamers themselves to admit that they're stealing content?
Well, guys, if you enjoyed not giving any views to that terrible video, follow, subscribe, throw a prime if you like the content, if you enjoyed your time here.
It turns out they just do it for you. You couldn't cook up a more incriminating statement if you tried. Denim's the queen of self-owning. You prevail again.
A lot of people have been wanting to watch this without necessarily supporting Ethan Klein. So we're going to watch it.
Well, that's a really dumb thing to say, don't you think? Why are you so comfortable? We've given each complaint a clever little title, and here's Caseytron's. She smoked more than she spoke. Caseytron smokes 42 times during her reaction. And just as a silly thought experiment, we thought, wouldn't it be funny if she spent more time smoking than she did talking? And thinking there was no way that that could be true. Well, we tallied them up, and lo and behold, there's 15 minutes 40 seconds of commentary versus 18 minutes and 55 seconds of smoking. She spent 3 minutes and 15 seconds longer smoking than she did talking in her quote-unquote reaction. Reaction by exiting. Here she is getting up to leave the video running as she steps out of the room. Is that transformative? I guess the judge will decide. She said, quote, "It's time to watch the new nuke ethically. Hell yeah." Very smart to say on camera, by the way. She said, quote, "Thank you guys so much. I do appreciate everyone's support. And thank you for watching it with me." Well, you are so welcome, and I'm so glad that you were able to enjoy that day. Her commentary is so non-existent that even her own fans begin to call her out.
I don't have anything to say? Dude, because he's cycling the same points over and over again. What more commentary do you need on him repeating the same points for the whole first hour and 1 minute and 32 seconds? It's been the same over and over again. Are you going to make at least one good point? What do you want me to make a point on?
Now, look, that is obviously pretty damning. I mean, they're quite literally saying that they're doing this in a bad faith and malicious way in order to violate Ethan's copyright rights. And by the way, one of the reasons why Ethan has decided to sue these people in specific is because they have the specific admissions that they're doing this in order to violate his rights. And what he's trying to do is set as narrow a precedent as possible in order to get some kind of limitation on these Twitch streamers. Now, to be clear, even though I think what Ethan is doing is in fact ingenious, even though I actually think Ethan is right in terms of copyright law, because these creators on Twitch, these so-called creators on Twitch, get away with this time and time again, basically adding nothing to the content that they're reposting and then re-uploading on YouTube for ad revenue. In my opinion, this is a dangerous track for creators on the internet.com, because if the court rules in a wider way and they set a precedent that actually contradicts the previous precedent that Ethan Klein himself ended up establishing in terms of fair use law, then I'm incredibly worried that this is going to have negative impacts on other creators. That being said, I do give Ethan credit for acknowledging that that's a possibility, but also specifically going after creators that overtly admitted that their intention was to violate their copyright in order to ensure that he is doing the least damage to fair use possible.
We're relying on you to stay live so we don't give more views on the nuke. Yeah, I'm gonna stream it. Since he confirmed it's coming out today, we're gonna stream it. If you want to watch it with someone else who's already watching it, you know, come enjoy the watch party somewhere else. If you enjoyed not giving any views to that terrible video, follow, subscribe, throw a prime if you like the content, if you enjoyed your time here. Because I'm going to be honest, I did not want to watch that by myself.
Let me also commercialize it by asking you to reward me financially for stealing his content. That is like chef kiss. By the way, Denims had a very successful stream. She had 43,000 people watching her live. Take a look at the title of her Twitch stream. Ethan Klein Hassan Content Nuke Watch Party. A watch party? I don't think that's fair use.
By setting this outer limit on the process. Now, of course, a bunch of people on the internet.com are running defense for these three creators. And I think one of them is called Caseytron. The other two are Denims and Frogan. And we talked about Denims as somebody who endorsed the CPS call against Ethan and his children after the fact. She was platforming ridiculous allegations before the fact in order to get this call to happen, or not to get the call to happen per se, but this inspired a lot of people presumably to make that call. And obviously I was going to scrutinize the case that Ethan was bringing against her more than the others based on the fact that there's a personal grievance right there based on her going completely out of bounds of what is acceptable. But the fact is, he has her dead to rights, repeating that she's doing this intentionally time and time again, and that is the intent to violate his copyright, and it couldn't be more clear.
And would you be surprised if I told you she said a lot of incriminating things in that podcast? The queen of self-own never disappoints.
I want to be clear on my opinion on like filler content and stuff. Like, I think filler content, like, you shouldn't do it. I know I do it as a React streamer. And I try to do it only when I do it with like Vox videos or Vice videos and stuff like that, because at least I'm not like directly ripping from one content creator and not like a whole team and stuff. And most of those videos have like 5 million views. I only get like 500 viewers. I'm taking maybe 50 views from the video. It's a lot harder to feel like, I guess, bad about that. Whereas like I would feel very bad about doing that to like a single content creator. The majority of people say that they literally wouldn't watch Hell's Kitchen unless I was streaming it. And it doesn't necessarily mean that I'm reacting hard enough. You know, I'm sure if you click on a random part in the video, I might not be saying anything, sure, whatever. And I might walk away from the screen. But it's about like the communal thing. It's why like Toast started streaming Death Note. It's not about the actual show at a certain point. It's the same reason you watch shows with your friends. You want to watch it with other people. A lot of people go to watch streamers on Twitch for their React content almost as a curator. So they don't actually want to go through YouTube themselves and watch a bunch of videos. And they probably never will go through YouTube and click a bunch of videos. They like going to Twitch because they like to have it as like, this streamer is curating fun content that I want to watch.
Now, because these creators appear to be completely dead to rights, because these creators obviously are infringing on other people's copyrights, other people's creative works, they are obviously scared and they're trying to run defense and throw out a bunch of different accusations against Ethan Klein, like saying that the reason why he tried to get Cenk's nephew to watch the content nuke on him was because he planned on suing Cenk's nephew. But Ethan has already explained this, and if you guys don't know, there is validity to this explanation, that as soon as he convinced him or asked him to watch this work on stream, that is a de facto license for him to do so. Therefore, Ethan is waiving his rights to sue him. This was not in any way, shape, or form a conspiracy against Cenk's nephew. This was him protecting his copyrighted work and basically doing a 2 birds with 1 stone kind of situation, where he gets to go after some people that are abusing the system for years, that he's been concerned about for years, while at the same time calling out Cenk's nephew for his repeated support of terrorism. So again, you'll see on social media a lot of people throwing stuff against the wall to see what sticks, but in reality, these are obvious cases, in my opinion, of copyright infringement, and Ethan has played this pretty perfectly. The only thing that I'm concerned about is that the precedent that could be set would be much broader than it needs to be for this particular case. But Ethan's having a good time. He's making jokes about it. He's encouraging them to do a crowdfunding campaign because he wants more money when the case is over.
You know, and to all the detractors who are saying that I'm targeting women, that I'm a hypocrite for suing for copyright infringement, I just have this to say. I don't care. What I do hope, though, is that you'll support their crowdfunding efforts to defend themselves. Because let's face it, I want to make sure there's money left over for me when I win my lawsuits. Thanks for watching, everybody. It's been a great time. I'll see you around.
And honestly, the fact that Ethan just keeps coming at these people with jokes and comedy just makes me smile. It makes you feel a little bit like it's the old Ethan, even though in reality, when you break down Ethan's positions, he's still very left-wing, and I obviously disagree with that, but he just happens to be going after more left-wing crazy people. But in this particular case, the political ideology is not what is at issue here. What's at issue here is that these people are stealing others' content in order to make money off of it, and explicitly trying to deprive the original creator of anything that is due to them. Again, these people don't even encourage you to subscribe to the channel that they're watching all their videos from in order to deprive said channel of income that is owed to them, because it's all about them, and they know that on their own, they are not entertaining enough to hold people's attention during these streams. And again, it would be so easy when you walk away from your screen to have some kind of "I'll be back" screen or something of the sort. When I streamed on my channel, I didn't just leave videos playing when I was gone. I often had, when I had an OBS setup, a "be back soon" kind of card. And just because some viewers drop off when you're leaving doesn't mean that you have the right to abuse other people's copyright and steal from them. And again, this is something very different than what I do, where I spend time to craft videos, to edit in clips, to make sure I say links are in the description, check out the original and whatnot. This is them just stealing content. Again, again, sometimes it's mainstream TV shows, and it's better that Ethan actually sue, and hopefully we get a narrow precedent rather than Fox or Nickelodeon or one of these major companies that are going to try to ruin this thing for the rest of us. But you know what? Those are just my thoughts on this situation. Like I said, I do fear there could be some backlash. This could end up biting us all in the rear end, but Ethan seems to have done his absolute best to get accountability for this content theft without setting a broad precedent. But I want to know what you guys think about that down in the comments below. As per usual, if you like the video, show them by leaving a like, subscribe for more content, follow me on my social medias, support me via the support links in the description of this video. This has been me talking about Ethan Klein taking down the Twitchers that steal people's content.